Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner. Is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner. Is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Rip'n Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Rip'n Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Multiverse broadcasting system initiated.
Hello.
Lasers.
Multiverse connection established.
Lasers.
Hello.
Multiverse connection secure.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
This is My Life DIY, and
hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Oz.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rip'n Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The DarkWolf's Den Show on Rip'n Common Sense Radio.
Are ghosts real?
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world.
Does time travel actually exist?
The laws of physics seem to be compatible with time machines.
You know, sometimes I wonder about reincarnation, don't you?
A 4-year-old boy in Adelaide, Australia, has told his parents that he used to be Britain's Princess Diana.
What would happen if the world found out that aliens were real?
I didn't say disclosure would be easy, but what is the alternative?
To establish a space force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
We have so many questions and yet so little time, so to have you here, the pleasure is all mine.
Coming to you from a secret cave, hidden deep within the wilderness. This is the Darkwolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live across the multiverse from a secret cave, hidden deep within the wilderness of Tennessee. That's right, we're ripping through the electromagnetic soup, tearing through the atmosphere, and tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the Darkwolf's Den Show for Wednesday, September the 29th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are covering yet another state of mystery in this great union that we call the United States of America. Tonight we are covering the great state of Iowa. That's right. It really makes me wonder what we're going to uncover, because you don't hear a whole lot about that state. That's one of those little quiet ones, and the quiet ones are always the craziest, right? Anyway, we're going to talk about all that and more coming up here in just a moment, but first, let's go ahead and give a quick shout out to our chat here. And welcome everybody. It is such an honor and a pleasure to see you guys here over in the Rippin' Rabbit Hole chat room. We're going to start off with Wizard Gren says, I wish you guys would get back to the more esoteric topics. Well, we will eventually make our way back there, that I assure you. As well as Michael Fontaine says, doesn't Iowa have a four-legged chicken? Nobody knows what it tastes like because nobody can catch it. I've never heard of the four-legged chicken, but that's interesting. I'd be willing to bet it tastes like chicken. I'd almost put money on it. JoJo's dropping into the Rippin' Rabbit Hole chat. So glad to see her over there. Go ahead and refresh to the live chat now. Sandy B hopping in the Rippin' Rabbit Hole over here, as well as Catherine M says hi, everyone. Hi, Catherine M. Terry Taggart saying hello over there. Raider Champion hopping in with the theme song. Appreciate that, Raider Champion. Over in the Darkwolf's Den Show chat, you're going to hear some familiar names. We've got Sandy B once again says Iowa. There we go. Iowa, here we come. My hubby went to college at Storm Lake, Iowa. That's awesome. That is really cool. So you're kind of familiar with it already. Alva Yarder says hello. Hello, Alva Yarder. X-Gen evening, fellow travelers. We have the power to change this matrix. We are all one. I think he meant we are all one, but either way, absolutely right. And evening, X-Gen, glad to see you here. My Life DIY dropping in over here. Glad to have you here, My Life DIY. Always a pleasure. Modern Fords, as well as Raider Champion, hopped over to say hello in the Darkwolf's Den Show too. Lissa W says hello. Hello, Lissa. Always a pleasure. I'm so glad to see everybody here tonight, and I just can't say it enough. I love and appreciate seeing every last one of you folks over there. And we're going to dig into this state of mystery of Iowa here in just a moment, but before we do that, we do have two more fun little segments to do. The first of which we call Today in History. I love days like this when there's just so much to choose from on the today in history. Like this one, for example. On this day in 1982, the first broadcast of the comedy Cheers premieres on NBC TV, starring Ted Danson and Shelley Long. I used to love watching that show. I remember Norm used to come in, and everybody would yell, "Norm!" I actually lived in a neighborhood where I would go walking down the street and everybody would come out of their apartments yelling, "Jerry!" True story. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is today's segment of Today in History. And of course, I do not own or watch a TV anymore. But that was one show that I actually did enjoy watching when I did watch TV. I actually thought it was kind of cool. And speaking of cool, that brings us to our next segment, which we call Say What? And of course, in my opinion, one of the coolest segments of the whole show, right? On today's quote of the day, our quote comes from Abraham Lincoln. He says, "We the people are the rightful masters of both Congress and the courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who pervert the Constitution." End quote. Once again, that was Abraham Lincoln, and that is today's segment of Say What? Incredible information from former President Abraham Lincoln. And you know, we the people, we are in charge, and we are spread out all across this great land, from California to New York and Maine and Florida and every place in between, including the little bitty place of Iowa. That's right. Iowa has its fair share of people and cryptids. It's been having cryptid reports for many a year. Our first report, as a matter of fact, comes to us from 1903. This creature is called the Van Meter Visitor.
In the fall of this year, reports and accounts tell the tale of a cryptid. Over a series of nights, many respected, prominent men of the town, not your average town drunkards, reported sightings of a creature. This creature was said to look like a cross between a bat and a man. The reports say it emitted a foul odor wherever it went on its enormous smooth wings and shot a blinding light out of the horn on its head.
I don't know about you guys, but to me that seems eerily reminiscent of the Mothman creature, right?
Flying past anyone who saw it at similarly blinding speeds. It was first seen by U.G. Griffith, an implement dealer, right in the heart of the town's business district. Upon initial investigation, Griffith thought the phenomenon was a spotlight moving around a rooftop. As he fully awoke and got up to truly investigate the bizarre thing, he was annoyed and ready to confront whatever or whoever it was. As he approached the source of the blinding light, he saw something huge jump from the spot where the light was to a different rooftop across the street before completely disappearing into the crisp autumn night.
So he had just awoken, and there was a spotlight in his eyes that had woken him to begin with, right? That's the whole reason that he had woken up. And he was assured himself, I guess you'd say, that this spotlight had come from a rooftop of some type, right? So when he woke up and got to looking and seeing something with this light attached to it dancing across the different rooftops, of course, I'm sure he was more than a little alarmed, right? And welcome both Catherine M. over into the Darkwolf's Den Show. Long Reach 1, haven't seen you in a while, a pleasure to see you. And Royal Magnolia as well.
As the mysterious being was moving from one spot to another, Griffith fired off a few shots from his gun at the critter, with seemingly zero effect. Bizarrely, Griffith was able to get his shots into his target, but even more bizarre was the fact that the animal was able to shrug off the bullets as though it were made of metal.
And this, of course, yet another example of something that we see in a lot of cryptid cases, and that is the fact that the bullets have little to no impact whatsoever. That doesn't necessarily mean anything paranormal per se. It mentioned that it perhaps like it was made of metal. That's probably the quoting that was used, but a thick enough skin is definitely going to be resistant to many bullets. There's a reason that there's a need for something called an elephant gun, right?
The very next night, another member of the community, the town's doctor, Dr. Alcott, saw the creature. He was asleep in a room in his office when he was awoken by the same blinding light Griffith had seen the night before. Like Griffith, Dr. Alcott got dressed and rushed outside to confront whoever had the audacity to shine a light into his room. With a gun in hand, Alcott was taken aback as he got to witness what was making the light. He saw what he later described as an unholy combination between man and bat. He found the origin of the blinding light as a horn jutting out of the creature's forehead. Dr. Alcott took to shooting at the creature 5 times with no effect before it fled. The night after this encounter, it appeared again, this time to Clarence Dunn. At this point, rumors had begun circulating around the town of the creature's nightly visits, but no one had any idea what it could be. Dunn was aware of the appearances and took to keeping watch for it at night. He positioned at the bank with a shotgun as he believed the culprit of the Van Meter visitor was simply some clever burglars. Dunn's experience with the visitor, once it made its appearance, was a bit different from the others. Dunn heard a gagging, struggling sound like someone being strangled outside, which is what got him to get up and investigate, rather than the light which awoke past observers. As he went to open the door to check out the sound, he was blinded by the light.
Blinded by the light. Am I the only one that just got that triggered in your head? But seriously, guys, this is an interesting creature, right? Very intriguing indeed. The fact that this guy was a complete skeptic, right? 100% hands down skeptic, was sure that this was just some burglar or some kind of hoax either way, was quickly turned around when he ran upon this creature. And it still had the blinding light in front of it. We're listening to pretty much another account of the exact same creature. So we've had a number of case files so far on this one creature.
Once the creature let up on the visual noise, Dunn could make out a little bit of the critter's form. He reportedly took his gun and shot the beast a couple times to no effect. The next morning, he surveyed the crime scene with fresh eyes, only to find a set of 3-toed footprints, which he made plaster casts of.
And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. If you have followed this show for a while, you know that the 3-toed footprint is incredibly important. There are a load of cryptid creatures for some reason that tend to have this 3-toed footprint, including the one that I personally encountered. So when I hear something like that, as you guys know, that really raises my ears to the sky, because the 3-toed print is definitely something that is very unique indeed to cryptid creatures, for whatever odd reason, right?
Plaster casts which have never materialized over the last 100+ years. O.V. White, owner of a local hardware store, was another eyewitness. He was sleeping in his quarters above the hardware store when the creature woke him up with quite a start, as it perched atop a nearby telephone pole. At the time, across the street, Sidney Gregg had awoken and spotted the creature as well. Instead of assaulting its voyeurs with light or sound, it wafted a loud stench towards White. Supposedly, White and Gregg saw the animal make its way down to the ground and hopped around like a kangaroo before taking off towards the old coal mine, which resided on the outskirts of town. Let us not forget this was 1903, and people were not above a good old torch and pitchfork mob gathering. The men took up arms to rid the town of the beast, who'd yet to make any malevolent movements towards anyone who saw it. People had reported strange, scary sounds coming from the coal mine after all. What else was there to do? Leave the critter alone? Pfft. The posse made their way to an old brickyard on the northwest side of town, where the group heard strange noises coming out of the coal mine.
Presently the noise opened up again, as though Satan and a regiment of imps were coming forth for battle.
So said one of the eyewitnesses, as recorded in the Des Moines Daily newspaper. Upon reaching the abandoned coal mine, the men spotted the creature come out of the mine alongside a smaller individual. 2 creatures. The creatures used their horns to create a blinding light that they used to get into the air and sail away. The men stayed where they were, disoriented, until the creatures returned the following morning. Apparently,
the reception they received would have sunk the Spanish fleet, but aside from unearthly noise and peculiar odor, they did not seem to mind it, but slowly descended the shaft of the old mine.
to keep the unknown away from the town, the mob bricked up the entrances to the mines, and this was the last time these creatures were seen, heard, or smelt from again.
And again, not out of the realm of possibility, in my opinion, that these creatures could have been living in the cave system. We know there's a lot, or the coal mine in this case, we know there's a lot of creatures that live in a lot of strange places. It would also explain the need for the light on the horn if it was an adaptation to a darker area, right? But what do you guys think? Go ahead, put a 1 in the chat room if you think this was definitely a real creature, or most likely a creature that did exist, though they are not found anymore since they closed off the mine. Go ahead, put a 2 in the chat room if you think, no, that's just a little bit far-fetched for you. And go ahead and put a 3 in the chat room if you're just kind of on the fence either way on this one. In the meantime, let's go ahead and move on over to a creature that is not so questionable, and that it would be, of course, our old friend, the Bigfoot. I've got just a couple of stories here, a couple of case files that we're going to go through of Bigfoots specifically in Iowa.
Dallas County, Iowa, 1999. I really don't know how to start. I came to your website after an encounter with a large creature resembling many definitions of Bigfoot. I was afraid no one would believe me until I came here. This happened between West Des Moines and Van Meter, Iowa, in Dallas County.
Darn, it almost seems like Van Meter is some kind of hot spot for these cryptid creatures. We have the Van Meter monster and the Bigfoots in the same area around Van Meter. Now, that's interesting, right? Speaking of the Van Meter monster, let's see what you guys said about it over there in the chat. Remember, 1 absolutely was a real case, a real creature. 2, I don't know, a hoax, definitely not real. 3, I definitely don't know. I'm really on the fence. Let's see what you guys said about this. Sorry about that. I lost that mute button again. I'm telling you, us DJs are horrible at the mute button. But seriously, over here in the Rippin' Rabbit Hole chat, Raider Champion says 1.134. I really need to start studying my fractions just for you guys over here throwing these fractions out at me, right? But says most definitely real. Then we have... over here in the DarkWolf's Den Show chat, we have Catherine M. says 3. Not sure. That's honest, Catherine. Then we've got My Life DIY with the 1. Absolutely real, without question. Sandy B with the 1, JoJo's with the 1, 1's falling down across the board here. Lisa W with a 3. Lissa says not all that sure either way. Appreciate the honesty, Lissa. Royal Magnolia with the 1. Dark Horse, great to see you. Dark Horse 108 with a 3. Absolutely. And we're glad to be of service. Royal Magnolia says she's had a really hard day, and first time she's been able to kick back and relax. So we're glad to have been of service there. And you remember where we left off a moment ago, the Van Meter area not only has the visitor, but it also has a case of a Bigfoot.
It happened around early July of 1999 at a campout with my friends. My house sits in front of a rather large patch of timber. Our freshman year of high school just got out for summer vacation, and we were celebrating in the timber at the campout. It was just getting dark outside, so we decided to build the fire. The 4 of us finished our supper and were sitting around the fire just talking. Soon it was pitch black outside and you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. We got out our flashlights and decided...
Alva Yarder coming in with the 1 over in the Rippin' Rabbit Hole chat.
...to go to the tent we had set up earlier. The next thing that happened, I'm not really sure about what time it was, but it was still very dark out. We all woke up to the sound of rustling in the leaves. We assumed it was just a raccoon eating the leftover scraps of food, but then there was a strange grunting sound, sounding like some sort of sick cow or something, and heavy, raspy breathing. Also, there was a reeking stench, almost like rotten eggs.
One thing we do know about Bigfoot cases is that this is reported quite often, this foul stench in the area of a Bigfoot.
We all thought it was somebody playing a prank on us, but in the middle of the night? And how would they find us out in the middle of the woods? We all went out of the tent to look around, sure it was just nothing. As we unzipped the tent, the rustling stopped and the breathing slowed down a little. As we poked our heads out of the opening, we caught a glimpse of him. I still am not sure of what I saw that night. In proportion to the tree he was standing near when we saw him, his head came close to hitting the branch, which seemed to be a little less than 7 feet tall. He was hairy and had reddish-brown fur. Once the four of us talked about what we saw, we all had seen the same thing, a glimpse of him walking away. I think he seemed maybe a little afraid of us. For what reason, I do not know. He was too far away to distinctly see his eyes. All I can tell you is that we only saw his backside, reddish-brown fur, and very tall. As for the food he could have been attracted to, we had leftover bags of potato chips, hot dogs and buns, s'mores, chocolate bars, graham crackers, marshmallows, some fresh fruit, apples, bananas, oranges. I can't think of anything else at this moment, but just general snacks and food for open campfires.
Honestly, that sounds like enough food to attract every animal in the entire forest, right? But we do know that Bigfoot does have a tendency to like apples.
His body was pretty strange as to the proportion question. Big hands, most likely big feet too. Tall and large biceps and upper leg muscles from what I could tell, and long hair covered his whole body from what we could see. I can't remember a lot more about this creature. He, or she, I suppose, seemed very frightened at the sight of humans. He wasn't afraid of the campfire, it seemed, although it was just smoke by this time. My guess is that he was attracted to the fruit, most likely. The fruit was the strongest smelling piece of food we had.
You know, what amazes me is more times than not, these Bigfoot cases have no violence attached to them, right? Generally, the Bigfoot is more scared of the human than the human is of the Bigfoot. And I find that intriguing because a lot of people claim that these are bears, right? It's just a bear sighting. I don't know if anybody who is claiming this has ever dealt with a bear, but those guys don't just turn around and walk off on 2 legs, first off. Second off, they don't just turn around and walk off if they found a huge meal. They will invade a camp. They don't care about the puny human there. Generally speaking, they won't run unless you have something like a bear spray, right? So these Bigfoot encounters being bears that just got thwarted, I just don't buy it. Again, these creatures seem much more scared of humans than humans are of them.
Clinton County, outside of Folletz, Iowa, October 2006. This is a farming community
Audio. Here we go. It looks like my microphone has decided to come back. I don't know what in the world's going on. Our whole system just pretty much crashed here. We locked up. Bear with me just a moment while we get this back on track. I think we've got audio coming out now. At least somewhere we do anyway. Audio. Yeah, I'm trying to get everything pulled back up. I do apologize, guys. Like I said, my whole system just straight up crashed on me. One of the wonders of live radio, right? Anybody wondering if I'm live? Here we go. That is without question. So it's going to take just a couple moments to try to pull everything back together. I appreciate everybody's patience. I would like to, for a moment, speak on the fact that that creature a moment ago, the Van Meter monster, was a three-toed monster. States, or we've heard this three-toe many. Really incredible to me that they keep coming up, right? Yeah, I do appreciate it, guys. You can hear me now. Perfect. I am so glad that we've got the audio rolling through there. Let me go ahead and try to, yeah, we're definitely crashing hard over here. We're going to try to get back on. Give us just do apologize. We're going to have some dead air for a moment. Not quite understanding why. Let me see if we can get this back up. You guys are so very patient. I do so sincerely. Well, it looks like we're at halftime, ladies and gentlemen. I am glad to see everyone here at halftime. We have an incredible weekend coming up for you folks. On tomorrow, I will be back with a all new episode on the end of the world, right? We're going to go over all the different ways. Dead air again. Okay, let's hope we don't. We're going to be going over all of the different predictions that have been given for the end of the world, right? And then on Friday, October 1st, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, our buddy AJ the Rip. Make sure you come on back and check that out on Friday, October the 1st, kicking off the weekend here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network in the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. Or the month, I'm sorry. I kicked the weekend off. He is kicking off the month. And then on Saturday, he will be back with an all-new episode, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, October the 2nd, talking about donating your body to science. There's a lot of people who have chosen to do that, myself not being one of those people, of course. And we are going to be discussing all of that on Saturday. Our AJ will be discussing with it on Saturday, October 2nd, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, and 9 Central. Then on Sunday, the best show on radio, ladies and gentlemen, the most fun you can have on radio. I know that for a fact, and that is the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. to Beat Eugene show. That's right. He will be back with an all-new episode of Beat Eugene. Nobody beat Eugene last month, and we're going to do our best to try to beat him this month. I know there's a coalition of you guys out there that are more than willing and ready to whoop Eugene into the ground, right? I hope to see all of you guys over there on Sunday, October the 3rd, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, right? Then on Tuesday, the following Tuesday, of course, AJ will be back with an all-new episode. I'm sorry, AJ. I'm doing this like off the cuff. Bear with me, guys. On Tuesday, our friend Champion Sports Nation will be back to kick off Tuesday night videos, the once-a-month show that we do in the Backstage Lounge once a month, every month. And we hope to see every last one of you guys there. With that said, we now will return, hopefully, to the second half of the Darkwolf's Den Show right here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network. Rabbit Hole. Reestablishing multiverse connection. Connection reestablished and secure.
This is My Life DIY, and
hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Ash.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The DarkWolf's Den Show on Rippin' Common Sense Radio.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to the second half of the DarkWolf's Den Show for Wednesday, September 29th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in tonight, welcome. We are discussing the great state of mystery of Iowa. That's right. There has been a bit of a cryptid situation in Iowa. We had the Van Meter monster as well as a couple Bigfoot stories. It seems Bigfoot likes the Iowa area. And another thing that we have in Iowa, as we have in every state in the Union, is a good list of ghost stories. That's right. And as we are coming up on Halloween, it's only fitting that we do the second half, of course, each show as ghost stories, as we always do anyway. But now we're coming up on Halloween, it's actually fitting, right? But seriously, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the hauntings of Iowa.
The Jordan House. Construction on the Jordan House in West Des Moines began in 1850 and took several years to complete, replacing the log cabin that James Jordan...
I do apologize for those that were over on Rippin' Common Sense Radio. I do hope you're still hanging here with us. We've got that back up and running too now.
And his family had originally built in the same spot. The Jordan family lived in the home for nearly a century, with their daughter Ida even dying in the house after falling down the stairs and breaking her neck.
But this would not be the last time people would hear from the daughter.
Many have reported feeling a ghost in the home, hearing disembodied children's footsteps, and tiny giggles from dark rooms. A ghostly little girl has been sighted on several occasions, rounding corners and peering out from beneath furniture.
You know, as heartbreaking and tragic as stories like that are, the fact that the ghost remains does bring a bit of hope about what could happen on the other side, right?
Hotel Blackhawk. Hotel Blackhawk in Davenport was built in 1915 and has played host to many notable names throughout history.
I am also now convinced that every single state has a haunted hotel of some type too, right?
And was even the final stay of actor Cary Grant, who fell ill and died here. Guests and employees report cold spots throughout the halls, lights turning on and off, and the sounds of phantom piano music coming from the ballroom when it's empty. A woman in an evening dress that changes from blue to red in an instant.
To me, that sounds just as cool as it does scary, right? The dress that changes colors on its own. But there's a more famous ghost that may actually haunt this hotel too.
And the ghost of Cary Grant himself has been sighted walking the halls, dressed in a fancy suit with a smile on his face.
And the way I understand it, Cary Grant still frequents the place to this day.
The Matthias Ham House. The Matthias Ham House in Dubuque was built in 1856 for businessman Matthias Ham and his family, of which at least 4 of the members died within the home.
And as if that weren't bad enough,
Sarah, the remaining daughter, also shot and killed an intruder who turned out to be a pirate Matthias had testified against.
So now not only do we have natural death spirits, we have the possibility of the stone tape replay because of the trauma of the final event, although that could be a spiritual one too. Either way, we find that trauma generally tends to precede any ghost activity. So this story definitely has the makings for quite a few ghost encounters.
Visitors to the home have reported issues with electronics, windows opening on their own, cold spots, disembodied voices, and a ghostly lamplight that can be seen floating around the edges of the property, especially on foggy nights.
And perhaps the light would be the pirate looking for his body. But anyway, what do you guys think? Do you think I'm right that trauma definitely has an action or a function in creating a haunting activity? Or do you think it's just the fact that, everybody dies and a lot of times it is traumatic? Go ahead, put a 1 in the chat room if you think a traumatic situation creates a more likelihood of a haunting situation. Go ahead, put a 2 in the chat room if you think no, totally unrelated, it's just a coincidence, and put a 3 in the chat. Sorry about that, had to sneeze. And go ahead and put a 3 in the chat room if you're unsure either way.
The Porterhouse Museum. The Porterhouse Museum in Decorah was built in 1867 and adopted by Adelbert Field Porter and his wife, Grace Young Porter, in 1904 after their wedding. The couple, along with Grace's parents, lived in the home until their deaths, and it's believed their spirits may remain. They're believed to be friendly apparitions, however, with staff and guests reporting finding locked doors unlocked and ajar, playful taps on the shoulder, and several figures seen watching from the upstairs window, bunched together and looking quite content.
So this definitely sounds like a more positive style haunting, more like the one that I grew up with myself. But let's go ahead and check the chat over here and see what you guys said. Remember, the question was, do you think trauma has an impact on a haunting? 1 in the chat room if you think most definitely it has a major impact. 2 in the chat room if you think nope, absolutely not, it's a complete coincidence. And 3 in the chat room if you're unsure either way. Let's go ahead and see what you guys said over there. It looks like Catherine M says 1 absolutely can. Sandy B says 1 it can definitely cause a haunting trauma. Being involved with the case. My Life DIY with the 1 over there. Most definitely she agrees. Royal Magnolia 4. Sorry, I think they're all demons, and that's fair. Maybe I should have added that on at the end, right? Alba Yarder with the 1. It can happen, absolutely. Darlene, Maggie, I do hope one of those was correct. With a 1 also. And let's move on to our next case file.
Simpson College.
Michael Fontaine says 1 depends on what happened.
Simpson College in Indianola was established in 18...
Raider champion with the 1.1 over there. Most likely, most definitely, little hair a hint of doubt, but most likely absolutely real, in that being the case that trauma does have an effect on creating a haunting scenario.
1960, with the old chapel, now College Hall, rumored to be haunted by 3 separate entities. The first 2 are a young man and a young woman, both believed to be students that took their own lives. The third is a 22-year-old named Millie who tripped on the stairs and fell from the 3rd floor.
And again, we have this extremely traumatic event.
Students and faculty have reported unexplainable cold spots, odd noises coming from empty rooms, electronics malfunctioning, lights refusing to stay on, and personal items disappearing from locked areas.
All of which are classic examples of a haunting, and I'm starting to wonder if these more traumatic ones are the ones that have different aspects to them, like the cold spots that we haven't heard in all the stories, but when they are mentioned, they're definitely intriguing.
Sioux City Municipal Auditorium. Sioux City Municipal Auditorium in Sioux City was designed in 1938, constructed in 1950, and now stands as the Long Lines Family Recreation Center. Local legend, backed by historical accounts, state that an electrician died during construction, and it's said his spirit never moved on. Multiple visitors have reported seeing an electrician in old-timey clothing tinkering with various switches across the premises.
I honestly think this is a version of the stone tape theory, and the reason I think so, I just don't see myself liking my job so much in the living that I would like to continue to do it all the time while I was dead, especially just the last job I was at, right? It seems pretty random. If I were a ghost, I would definitely be moving around, visiting others in which that I could. So, very interesting here. Again, I think this is more of what we would call a stone tape haunting than a regular spiritual haunting. That is, of course, just my opinion.
Also reported as the ghost of a little boy who fell over the edge of the building while shooting pigeons. Many have reported hearing little footsteps accompanied by extreme cold spots and the sound of little disembodied cries. He has been sighted several times in the auditorium, watching shows.
And once again, we have this extremely traumatic event, as well as cold spots in this story. So I just can't help but wonder if they're connected, but definitely a connection with the trauma, in my opinion, as far as hauntings go. I'm not sure if the aspects of the haunting might match out to such, but definitely upon more study, we may be able to find even more patterns in these cases. But speaking of cases, let's get back to these.
Iowa State University. Iowa State University in Ames was founded in 1856 and is one of the few colleges in the U.S. to play host to its own cemetery. In the Farmhouse Museum, one of the oldest buildings, visitors have reported curtains moving on their own, display cases opening by themselves, and the feeling of being watched. In Fisher Theater, the spirit of a former drama teacher is said to be hanging around, with students even using her old wheelchair as a prop. The chair has been known to move itself around as if someone is in it. Lastly, all across campus, numerous reports have sprouted up concerning strange sounds, otherworldly fog coming out of nowhere, and objects shaking violently or moving on their own.
Am I the only one that is starting to see the pattern here of different colleges across all these states having a haunting situation going on? Maybe it's just me, but that's another pattern I'm starting to notice. Are these colleges have a lot of hauntings. It is said the college near me has a drama teacher that haunts it, just like this particular story here. So definitely something, again, I've heard in other case files, but intriguing nonetheless. We definitely sound like if you go to a college in any state, it is probably haunted, at least to some degree.
The Oakland Cemetery. The Oakland Cemetery in Iowa City was founded in 1843 and has become locally infamous for a terrifying local legend surrounding its wrought iron gates. The Black Angel statue overlooking the Feldevert family plot is said to have originally been gold until the passing of Teresa Feldevert, when it started to cry black tears. The entire statue is now black, and every attempt to restore the color has failed. Visit at your own risk, as it's said that a girl once kissed the feet of the statue and died 6 months later. Another boy, healthy and in high school, touched the statue and his heart stopped instantly. Several women have reported miscarriages directly after coming in contact with the statue. Also reported in the cemetery are strange lights in the sky and what looks like a ghostly angel floating silently through.
Now that is quite a spooky case file. Sounds to me like they need to remove that statue and put it up for safekeeping, because it doesn't sound right now like it's keeping anyone very safe at all.
The Villisca Axe Murder House. The Villisca Axe Murder House in Villisca was built in 1868 and later purchased by Josiah and Sarah Moore in 1903. Between midnight and 5 a.m. on June 10, 1912, all 6 members of the Moore family and their house guests, 2 young girls, were murdered by axe blows to the head. Due to lack of evidence and a mismanaged crime scene, the crime remains unsolved to this day. Residents and visitors report the disembodied sounds of crying, finding shoes filled with blood, lights turning on and off, and plenty more. One resident was sharpening a kitchen knife when, in his words, the knife floated and then stabbed him through the hand. His family moved out the next day and never returned. Also reported throughout the years are ghostly whispers at night.
I do apologize for the dog in the
blood dripping from the walls, and the dark silhouette of a man holding an axe seen standing over beds at night.
And once again, we have a high amount of trauma and a high amount of hauntings. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that Iowa is definitely a state of mystery, from the Van Meter monsters and Bigfoots to the ghosts that tend to populate the state? Do you think it's a state of mystery for sure, or do you think we are yet again barking up the wrong tree? In the end, ladies and gentlemen, all you can do is look at the evidence, apply a little common sense, and you be the judge. We got to close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode of the DarkWolf's Den Show for Wednesday, September 29th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, the den may be closing, but don't you worry, the weekend fun has only just begun. That's right. Make sure you come back tomorrow, September 30th, 2021. I don't even know what day it is, ladies and gentlemen. Can you tell? 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as I return with an all-new episode of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. That's right. We're going to be with the DarkWolf's Den Show. We're going to be talking tomorrow about end times prophecies that have gone very, very wrong. Clearly they've gone wrong. We're all here to discuss it, right? That will be tomorrow, September 30th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, right here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. Then on Friday, October 1st, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, our buddy AJ the Rippin' Rabbit will be back with the all-new episode of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. See, I say that so many times over and over and only announce mine once, so I get so used to announcing his, right? Which I don't mind. This episode is going to be about civil disobedience. There's a time and place for everything, especially when it comes to civil disobedience. And I don't know about you guys, but it just seems to feel to me like that time and place might be coming a lot sooner than others may think, right? All that and more coming up on Friday, October 1st, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Central. Then on Saturday, October 2nd, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, he'll be back with an all-new episode about donating your body to science. AJ will be discussing all the ins, outs, ups, downs, and all the rounds of donating your body to science. Would you do that? I wouldn't. I'm be honest with you. I don't think science has that much interest in my body, but if you're on the fence about that, make sure you check out AJ's episode on Saturday, October 2nd, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. If only my tongue would work today. Isn't it bad when you talk for a living and your tongue decides it's done for the day, right? On Sunday, October 3rd, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, AJ will be back one last time to round the weekend out right with an all-new episode of Beat Eugene. Nobody was able to beat Eugene last round, and maybe, if you're lucky, you'll be the one to jump up and beat Eugene this time. If you want to try to give it a shot, make sure you come on over on Sunday, October 3rd, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central for Beat Eugene the 4th. And that doesn't end the weekend, or maybe it does. Maybe the next weekend starts early. I'm not entirely sure, but on Tuesday, October the 5th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, exclusively in the Backstage Lounge on the RippinRabbitHole.com. Our buddy Champion Sports Nation will be hosting the Tuesday night video section. That's right. This month, he's going to be discussing the Masters of the Macabre. So come by for some fun, some music videos, some trivia, see how well you know your Masters of Macabre, and maybe you can take the championship belt away from Sandy B. That's exclusively in the Backstage Lounge on the RippinRabbitHole.com. That is RippinRabbitHole.com. That's right. You're also going to find, while you're over there, the Down the Rabbit Hole section, their exclusive social media section. It seems today that the overlords have taken another step to ensure a majority of misinformation stays under platforms and kill the truth. So you won't have that over on the RippinRabbitHole.com, not Down the Rabbit Hole. So come on over and drop your truth there. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of AJ the Rippin' Rabbit, Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, Walt House, everyone involved with Rippin' Common Sense Radio, as well as Tom Bayless for this amazing music in Red Shed Studios. Get down with it, Tom. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for a custom soundtrack for your next project, make sure you check out Red Shed Studios. Links in the description. On behalf of all these folks, as well as our amazing mod team, my name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And remember, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay awake, but dare to dream. That's right. Good night, everybody. How? Yeah. That's right.
Unlocked and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the grass is green, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. Is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.